Hi, everybody. Welcome to Whiskey and Weird. This is episode 10, and I'm excited to get some people on here watching. I'm excited for those of you who will be listening in later via your favorite podcast app or maybe watching the replay. Um, Tonight should be a lot of fun. It should be interesting at best, right? So a little different setting because I'm squeezing in my kids today. So welcome. I'm really happy that you're going to join me. And as I always do, I'm going to bless my space. Now, this is actually not a gimmicky thing for me. This is something that I do. I bless our house regularly, and I bless my workspace. So whenever I sit down to work, I always bless my workspace to clear away energy that doesn't support the work that I want to do, and invite in the energy that I want. And you know what? This is really intention of using these kinds of things. It's about clearing energy and inviting in divine light and things like that. So I use these things with the same purpose as which they were intended to be used. And I find them to be really helpful. So blessing my space here with a little Palo Santo and some sage. Kind of gives me courage, gives me creativity and all of that. So it's always an important way for me to get started. Because like I've said from the beginning, this is all about me kind of stepping out in front of people in a really open and as authentic way possible. So I'm here. If you are here, hi, Allison. I'm glad you're here. And if someone else might be here too, I see you. You don't see me. Oh, I see you. So anyway, Allison, I'm glad you're here. I hope you'll stay on and chime in throughout the episode. So first things first, I'm going to try some whiskey. So I got a couple of new whiskeys for Christmas from a couple different people, and I'm going with this one. It is, hey Sean, hi everybody. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. I can't believe that tomorrow's the last day of the year. So I got this for Christmas. It's called Stonehammer Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. All right, and I'm going to read the back to you. So there's a little history there. It says, Old Stonehammer, U.S. Representative, Senator, and the 10th Governor of Kentucky, Thomas Metcalf, who lived from 1780 to 1855, spent the early years of his working life as a stonemason before eventually winding up in politics. After Metcalf won the governorship in 1828, his opponent mocked his early trade, which earned him the nickname Old Stonehammer. As governor, Metcalf's tough-mindedness helped him accomplish much in the way of internal improvements for Kentucky. In honor of Thomas Metcalf's dogged determination and a job well done, we proudly offer smooth, satisfying Stonehammer bourbon. The first thing Emily says was, I wonder what his politics were. Don't we all wonder? So anyway, I'm going to taste this. So first I'm going to have a look at the color. It's pretty light. So I'm guessing it's not something that was aged a long time, right? Pretty light. Let's have a sniff here. I'm going to pour a little into my glass. Do a little sniff there. Sweet. I'm getting like caramel or butterscotch. Definitely sweet, maybe some vanilla in there. And I actually do get the oakiness in my nose. But like I've always said, I can smell these things. I get the nose a lot bigger than I do the others. So if you're here, you guys say hi. Let's go for a little taste. Oh, you know what I forgot? Remember this trick? One nostril and the other. Yeah, that's an interesting trick. I don't think I'm going to stick with it. I don't really get that much different from doing my my one. I have a pretty clear nasal passage. I don't know. So here we go. Hmm. Okay. So on that palate, my palate, I definitely got the sweetness, but I felt like there's a little cinnamon in there too. It was it was pretty pleasant. Really short, pretty short finish. A little viscosity. I can still feel it on my tongue a little bit, but it's yeah. You know what? It's not bad. I looked it up. It's actually a pretty inexpensive bottle, but I think it's quite pleasant. It goes down pretty easily, pretty smooth, but it is on the sweeter side. So it's an interesting thing. Someone about tasting whiskeys is this is a sweet whiskey. So if you were to blend it with something like Coke, it might not be as good as others because you're going to get a lot of sweetness if you don't like that. But I think it's really pleasant on its own. I would drink this again. It's pretty smooth. And we'll see how it ages on my shelf once I open it, because there's definitely a different experience, isn't there, after you've done that. So, Slanja, let me know what you guys are drinking tonight. I always love to hear about what you've concocted, Mr. Sean. Sean, I know you're listening in. Came across someone the other day who was drinking Mountain Dew with their whiskey. So I was like, hey, Sean's not the only one. Just thought you might want to know that. So I'm going to have to try that sometime. But happy you're here, all of you. And like I said, say hello. Please say hello. Chime in and say hello. If you just joined me, I am trying the Old Stonehammer. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, Distiller's Reserve. And yeah, you can listen back to find out how it went for me. But yeah, it's pretty good. So I'm going to continue sipping that. So as you might have heard, I invited my kids on. I don't know if that was smart or not, but I love hanging out with my kids, even if they don't like hanging out with me. And I thought it would be kind of fun to have them on, both to tell some stories, but also to corroborate some of the ones that I told you on previous episodes, particularly about the stuff that happens in our house. So let's see, Sean's drinking some Fireball and Sprite. So I am going to invite my kiddos in. I'm going to scoot over so Em can join me here. And then Noah's joining from his bedroom. He is a weirdo. And then we're going to get started. I really invite you and encourage you to ask them questions. So I'll try to keep a good eye on the comments. So if you have a question, we can post that. And yeah, let's get this started. Come on over, Em. And I'm going to bring you on, Noah. Here comes my boy. Here's my Emily. And there's Noah. Hi, Noah. Noah's right upstairs. He's got the full setup in his bedroom. So anyway, so this is Emily. And Emily is a junior in college at the University of Missouri studying sports journalism. Noah is a senior in high school, and he is a gamer. He likes to skateboard with his friends. I don't know. What else, Noah? Noah, what else do you want to share about yourself?
He kind of listed off the two things that I do.
Yeah, that's all you ever do. And sleep. He likes to sleep too. So, and Emily is, many of you might know a little bit about Emily. Allison's saying hi. She knows you. She's a great writer. And you know what? Her weird is Star Wars. She's like writing pages and pages of something about Star Wars, and I have no idea what it is. But
I told you what it was the other day. You're lying.
Well, why don't you tell everyone what you're working on, Emily?
Writing down all of the pieces of media in the Star Wars canon. So like all of the video games and all of the comics and I'm going to try to make my way through all of them. And there's a lot of stuff, so it's been taking a while. And I thought I had explained that. Apparently,
Well, you did, but not in a language that your mom understands. So Sean wanted to know, Noah, if that's a wall painted or if it's a flag. Sean, it is a wall painted.
Mhm.
I think we did Noah's room when you were 10,
It
right?
was 2013.
12 or 13. Okay. But
no,
it's been there.
It was
It
2013.
was 2013.
Oh, it was
So I was-
2013.
I
It was
was
when the
Yeah.
Seahawks won the Super Bowl.
So you were indeed 10 years old, right? If I do the math
Mhm.
correctly. So anyway, I'm assuming that Sean is saying good luck to you, Emily. I don't know.
Probably.
So thanks for that, Sean. So anyway, I want to bring these kids on. I think they've been a little stressed out about it, but I told them that they'll figure it out. But I think first of all, I want to get you know what? This is what this show is all about. You just get on and you never know what will happen. Right, Sean? Sean's been here before. Pete would tell you the same thing. So what I would love to do first is to have you guys talk about, like, to corroborate a little bit, share some of the stories before you get into why your mom is weird, because there's probably not very many stories for that anyway. You can share some of the stuff you remember experiencing in this house, because that way my audience here will know that it wasn't just me experiencing it. Does someone want to get started? Em?
Well, do you want to? You're
I don't
better at
know.
remembering the certain
Yeah,
things.
where do we
That's
but
not
where do we
corroborating.
start?
What do you remember? You guys, if I tell you what it is, that's not corroborating. What do you
Well, where are we
you guys
supposed to start?
know?
There is
What
too
do
much.
you remember about growing up in this house? Or Noah, tell about the stuff we experience every day. Right now, you guys are making me look really stupid. So
I said one thing.
what?
I said one thing, but like, where are we supposed to begin? Because there is so much stuff that is always happening in our house. Like footsteps, loud bangs, like my door just opening. Like there's just
So
all
Noah,
sorts of
actually,
stuff.
Noah, tell us. I talked about that a bit. Tell us a little bit about that happening and how often, and kind of what you're feeling around that. You guys can see his door in the back. But tell us a little bit about that, Noah.
It's just like I'll hear the doorknob jiggle, and then sometimes the door will just open. Like I turn around and watched it happen, and it just opened, and I sit there. I don't know what to think. Like I'm just shocked because like I go check to see if anyone's there, but no one's there. No one came upstairs, and my door just decided to open. So
So Noah and I have had a conversation sometimes about like what exactly that could be, if it's an actual ghost or if it's just somebody trying to give him a message. But he has had that. I mean, I don't know how many times I've come upstairs and he's like, "Mom, I would have sworn you walked into my room like 10 minutes ago." And I'm like, no. So yeah, that's happened a lot. Noah also, do you remember I was sleeping on the couch one night. I think I told everyone this. You remember, Noah, when you came in and you told me the next day? Do you remember what you told me?
that there was someone staring over you, because I had looked down there and there was like a big figure just standing there staring at you. So I'm like, I'm gonna go upstairs.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave.
We're
my
not
mom
dealing
down
with that tonight.
And that, I mean, I think I mentioned this on one of the early shows, is that area downstairs in the near the garage and stuff is really pretty creepy. So
Downstairs
yeah.
in general.
So I don't know, Emily, what's a recent, you're not around the house as much as anymore, but what's a recent thing that you've experienced?
I don't know if there's anything recent, but to like corroborate older stuff like you were asking, I mean, I was the one who for the most part would see the silhouette in the entryway when we first moved in, and we would be sitting at the snack table in the kitchen, and because I think my seat was positioned so I could see the hallway, and Noah's was facing more towards the kitchen, if I recall, so there wasn't like he wasn't paying attention. Also, he was like 4 years old, so I don't think he would have really processed it the same anyway. But just like I remember, like it was like every day it was like the same thing. We would hear the door open. Well, we'd hear the door open downstairs, but the door wasn't opening, the garage door. And then we would I would see because I don't know, we were eating our snack, and I don't feel like you were always in the kitchen with us, but I would see the like basically like a man, like I would say from like the knee or the shin down to like ankle, standing in the entryway like he was putting away his like coat or taking off his shoes or whatever into the closet, and then it would usually just disappear, or we would be done with snack and I would get up and leave the table.
And that same, it's like we have like an old, really old sliding door that's got like mirrors on it, and that door right where she would see that, even times today, every once in a while I'll wake up in the morning and it's open like 6 inches, and we don't go in there very often, and that's a hard thing to prove, but it's happened often enough that it just kind of makes you wonder, you know. And how does, I mean, like I wonder about residual energy. Can residual energy move things? I don't know if it can, but some of that seemed very residual, like the coming in the door every night.
Well,
so
I was going to say, to answer kind of Allison's question, I don't think we know a lot, but we know the previous owner's name was Mr. Harrison, so we always kind of referred to that ghost / a lot of the initial activity we had in the house as just being Mr. Harrison, because he died in the house.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of felt like that was the natural thing to do, but we don't like know a ton. I think you've tried doing some research, but we don't really know.
I have. So the only thing we know, Allison, is that he passed, and his daughter sold this house because his wife had passed, I think 15 years prior. Or it was quite a bit of time, and then he passed, and we don't know if he passed in this house or not, but he and his wife were the original owners, the only other people who've lived in this house besides us. And so, yeah, I have gotten images of a man here, but I've tried to look up, I've tried to find pictures of Mr. Harrison to see if it's him, but a lot of it feels like that's what it is. Like this is his house, and a lot of the patterns he may have had here. So I don't know. Sean has a question for you, Emily. Has anything followed you to college? And we've talked about this a little bit.
Yeah, I don't really think so. It's interesting because I've lived in a couple places since I like went to college. So my freshman year, obviously I was in a dorm. So I had a roommate living in the room with me. I don't remember ever having anything happen there. And then I lived in a modern apartment building last year, like one of those made it probably as an earthquake proof type apartment that they just constructed for college. I don't think anything's happened there. I'm now living in a super old building, but it's like a really old building. It's like 100 years old. We call it the J School slums because it's all the old buildings that are right up the street from the J School that mostly journalism majors live in. Anyways, I don't think I've experienced anything really there either. The one thing I would say that possibly has like kind of followed me, but not like isn't there all the time, is I have these, and I don't know if you've actually talked about this on here before. So in my bedroom, I've always for a long time felt that there's like three things that hang out in there. And it's not like Noah's situation where like things will move or like he'll see his door open, or mom used to see lights in Noah's room or stuff like that. But like these are just like 3 people who hang out in my room while I sleep, which like sounds creepy. And for like a while it did creep me out, but it's not really creepy. It's just, so I don't know, it's hard to explain, but there's 3 of them. And there's a tall one who stands kind of in the corner of my room, like opposite where my bed is. And then there's a little space between my bed and my window where another one hangs out and stands. And then there's one that likes to get really close to my face sometimes. And that's the one that creeps me out a little bit and just makes me uncomfortable. And I've learned to just kind of be like, please back away, or like, I don't want you here right now. Like, can you back up or whatever? And usually then I'm able to like not sense it as much, or like just kind of go to sleep or whatever. But I remember, so I've felt them every once in a while at college, but not regularly. And I know my mom has mentioned that she has felt them here because she sleeps in my bedroom now. And so she's felt them, and even before she moved into my bedroom, she had felt them before. And it was really weird because I'd never told my mom about it for a long time because I wasn't sure if I was just making it up in my head and was just kind of like, oh, there's stuff in my room, because I kind of wanted there to be stuff in my room or whatever and be able to talk about it like Noah has stuff in his room. But when she ended up bringing it up to me after
It was after you had gone to school.
No.
Wasn't it?
No, you had like not a Reiki massage or a Reiki massage. You had
Oh,
a
I had a
massage or
Reiki
something.
session, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you had and she
Oh.
came back and she was like, "Are there things that hang out in your room?" And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was
With
like,
my Reiki mentor, who happens to be a psychic. I think she's a psychic medium. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and she brought it up, and I was like, that's really creepy, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then later, she was like, oh yeah, I there was something hovering by my face like last night while I was sleeping, and I got the sense, and that was after I had left for college, so they couldn't pick on me anymore.
Yeah,
Not
that
that
was
they're
really
picking on
creepy,
me.
and I knew. So Sean asks, do you actually just sense
No,
them?
that's Allison.
No, right here. No, this one.
Yeah.
Oh, it is Allison. Sorry. Do you ever see them or just sense them?
I don't think I ever like actually see them in like the way my mom has seen stuff, like where you can tell, but like in my mind's eye, I can envision them a very particular way. Like I said, the one that stands in the corner is very tall, like very lanky type thing. And like I have like a sense of like what they look like. I'm not sure if that's just something that's in my head that I've decided. I don't know.
That's actually we've talked about this a little before, and that's usually how I sense things. Sometimes you see them, but that's actually a level of psychic ability. So you're sensing and you're seeing energies that are existing around you without actually seeing them with your eyes. So sometimes, you will see black figures. Like when I see it, I see more black shadow figure type things. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, all of it. And the one that gets really close, that's why I was mentioning with mind's eye. Perfect. Exactly, Sean. It's the mind's eye. I remember not long after Emily went to school, whatever the one that feels a little more icky, like came, and this was still when I was in the other bedroom, like I woke up to something literally right in my face and felt it was almost like oh, I don't have this other person to mess with, so I'm going to mess with you. So it's weird. Noah, you had a lot of experiences as a younger kid. Do you remember some of the things that you told me about, that you remember going back to when you were little? Because we moved into this house when you were 3 and Em was 6, right? What do you remember?
Definitely, like the biggest thing is when I was making the chair behind you guys, like I was making the footrest go up and down because I was bored, and then I swear I just saw some large, like tall black figure standing like right where you guys are next to the table, and I freaked out because it was pretty scary because it just looked like some random dude in our house that I didn't know.
Yeah, I remember when you told me that story. And interestingly, this is the spot right where we're sitting is a spot that I have encountered something, I don't know how many times, especially early on when we moved into this house. And I would come downstairs after going to bed, and I would see shadow figure right here. It was always in the same place. So I'm not really sure what the significance of this space is. How about the little girl? Do you guys remember the little girl?
Yes, because I would walk by Noah's room, just going to do my own thing in my room, and I'd look, and it looked like someone was sitting on Noah's bed, and sometimes Noah wasn't even home, and it just looked like little girl was hanging out, and so much so that sometimes I would like take a couple steps back and look in again, and there was absolutely nothing there, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that was weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you remember about the little girl?
I just remember that time I forget where in the house we were, but we started hearing crying, and it was like loud and clear enough to where it like wasn't coming from outside. It's in the house.
Oh,
I remember that. It sounded like a girl crying.
Yeah, I remember that. I had totally forgotten about that actually, but I remember we were trying to figure out, like we were looking to debunk it, like to see if there were any windows open, and we're like, okay, that's really weird. Do you guys remember, which I remember really vividly, when we heard the little girl, when we were sitting at this table?
No, because I didn't even hear it I mean, I remember it happening, but I didn't hear it in the moment.
But Noah, didn't you hear it with me? Remember when we're sitting here?
I don't remember.
We were talking, and I shared this story, and I was sitting right here in this exact spot, and we were talking about Mr. Harrison and different stories and sharing our stories.
Yeah.
And we heard the little girl say, "What about me?" Remember that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But that was really creepy. Like literally, I was right here. I turned and looked like I was going to see somebody there. So it's interesting, you know, how these different things manifest. And of course, your dad is pretty skeptical, but he had a moment, and hopefully he's okay with me sharing this, but he had a moment where he woke up in the middle of the night and saw the little girl, like literally saw her standing at the foot of, like, by my feet of my bed. And which is really fascinating because I've never seen a full, like, an apparition, but he was like, it was very clearly a little girl. But interestingly, I haven't seen her in a really long time. I haven't experienced her. I haven't felt her, anything like that. So I don't know, any other stories that really stand out for you in terms of the weirdness in our house before we move on?
Well, not in this house, but didn't, when you guys lived in the other house in Mount Lake Terrace and I was a baby, and you would see the lady walking between and Aunt Kelly had seen it too, and you would just see the lady.
I can still see her in my head. And it's funny, like, I sometimes forget about these things, but yeah, my sister Kelly mentioned this, but down at the end of the hall, and this was like an old, kind of like one of those manufactured kind of homes. That's, you know, it was really sweet. Our landlord lived next door, really, really sweet guy. But yeah, I would be on the couch in the living room and look down the hall, and all the time I saw this woman walking across from Emily's room to our room or the other way. And she was wearing kind of like, she looked like a school marm is the best way, from, like, you know, the 1900s. And she had her hair in a bun. Like, I can still see her. I wish I could sketch things because it was, but what's so weird is there's no reason she would have been in that house. Like, must have been something about the land we were on, maybe, or whatever. But yeah, it's funny how I mean, there are so many things, and we've talked before about how we should be keeping a log, because we have stuff that happens all the time.
That's
Another thing too. It's right after Mama died, when we were in the bedroom and you got really mad at me.
Oh.
I lost the voice.
Oh.
So right after our grandma had died, which was back in like 2014. And it wasn't immediately after, but it was within the ensuing weeks.
It was within a week or two.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and I were up in the master bedroom, and we're just kind of like, we got a weird feeling come over us, I think, first. And so then, of course, Mom pulled out the voice recorder and was like, we got to see if anything talks to us. So we got it out. And when we listened back to it, we could hear something say, like, I'm sorry. Like, we could hear a voice, and we were pretty sure it was my grandma. But then, like,
it sounded exactly like her.
Yeah. And then, like, a month or two later, I lost that voice recorder, which probably had the greatest piece of audio evidence that my mom has ever
Nice
recorded.
job, Emily.
Which is like,
I left it in a bathroom.
pretty none have pretty much no EVP evidence, even though I pull it out all the time. I pull out the EVP recorder in this house all the time. Actually, I have almost 6 hours of EVP to listen to because I'm sleeping downstairs right now, and it's creepy, and I hear noises every night. So Noah, how about you? Any last, like, ghost story stuff that you can think of that you can share corroborate?
Just always hearing footsteps, like wherever we are in the house, hearing footsteps somewhere else in the house, like someone's walking there, but everyone's all accounted for, but it just sounds like someone's walking upstairs. Or back to what Emily was talking about earlier with the door to the garage downstairs, like, to this day, I'll still hear it open. And I'll go down there and it's not open, but I heard the very distinct noise of it opening.
Yeah, it still happens. It just, like, when we first lived here, it happened almost every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't, but it still does happen. Or how about, Noah, you've experienced this, you know, the times when the time I came in the house and I was like, Noah, I'm home. And I completely heard you respond to me. And then I went upstairs and you weren't there. So, but you've had experiences reverse,
Where
right?
it sounds like you, like I'll be in my room and it sounds like you're calling my name, and I'll go check, and you're not even home.
Yeah, which is such an interesting phenomenon, but it happens, right? The same thing with,
Mhm.
I mentioned one time about how I saw myself
yourself.
in this chair right behind me, but Noah has seen me in
I've
that chair
seen,
when I'm not
I've
there,
seen
right?
her in that chair as well. That's
Yeah.
the creepy
But I
part.
spend a lot of time in that chair, so I'm sure, and I'm a pretty intense person, and I do a lot of intense meditations and stuff over there. So that's the only reason I can think of. So anyway, thank you for corroborating a little bit, Emily and Noah. But and if you think of anything else that you want to share in terms of the stuff that we experience in this house, yes, it's really weird. Allison says weird. It is really weird. But I have asked a couple people I know in the field, and they have experienced similar things. So I don't know. But so now I kind of want to get to some of this stuff, like what it's like to live with a weird, because I am weird. I've always been weird. And I think it's funny, when I first asked Emily and Noah about this, they were like, what are we going to talk about? But I think that's because they're just so used to having a mom like me that I'm very normal in their eyes. Right, Emily and Noah? Did you hear something weird?
I thought I did.
Yeah, probably. So I don't know. Emily's like, I thought of some things, Mom. But I don't know.
I didn't.
I'm gonna hand it over to you guys. I'm curious to see what makes me weird in your eyes.
Well, the story I've been wanting to tell, which I don't really know if it makes you weird, it's just a funny kind of like paranormal adjacent story, is the story of lunch with me, Noah, Madison, and Ian. We used to have two friends that would spend summers at our house and hang out with us, and our mom would watch us all. And one day, we're sitting on our dining room table eating whatever snack or whatever lunch we had that day, and we had been talking about some ghost stuff, because she's always talked to us about that stuff for forever. Like, it's just been a normal part of our life, so much so that we used to ghost hunt with our Nintendo DSs and stuff over the summer. So that's like, we were just having a conversation about that at lunch, and she went upstairs to go do something. And I mean, Ian and I were probably 11, 12 maybe.
Yeah, it was a couple of years.
And so Noah and Madison were like 9, and we were just sitting at the table, and all of a sudden she shrieks, like blood-curdling scream from upstairs, and we all dive up the table. We have no idea what's going on. We're all like scrambling for the floor because she's just screaming upstairs. And she comes downstairs to find us and is dying laughing because she just did it all as a joke and like meant for us to think that she had like seen a ghost or something upstairs.
Which we definitely did, because we hid under the table. But like, what's that gonna do?
From anything.
Oh gosh, that was really funny. But that's just, I don't know, that's weird.
Probably.
That is weird. That was a good story. And we still talk about that. So Sean wants to know, do either of you feel that your mother's current drinking habits are a result of you? What are you trying to say, Sean? I really don't drink that often, do I?
No.
But I have taken up whiskey recently. I think it's more likely because of the weird stuff I experience. It makes it easier to handle, but that's a good question. Yeah, that's a good story. And I think in some ways it makes me weird, because how many parents would really do that to their kids? I don't know. I mean, to this day, we're always trying to scare each other, especially me and Noah. And I actually got both of the kids good today. Yes. We just hide and we jump out and scare each other, right, Noah? Noah, you can share what your mom usually does when you
I'll hide behind the corner, and like sometimes I wait there. I can wait up like a good 5 minutes, because she'll like come close to the stairs, but then she needs to go do something else downstairs. So I'm like, shoot, I'm still waiting here. So I wait it out, and then she comes up and I scare her, and she goes, oh, she's like,
It's funny to see Noah do that in person, but yeah, he laughs, and then we just laugh together. It's hilarious. But yeah, Allison says her kids would say her drinking habits are a result of them. They wouldn't say that yet, Allison, but they might soon. right?
I'm really bad at jump scares. Oh, you can't see the comment yet.
Oh. So here it is. Sean asks, are you easier or harder to scare with what you have experienced?
I well, in like terms of like the type of scaring that they do, which is just jumping out
Just
from behind
startling,
random
yeah.
things, like I'll still jump up and like I jump at things in movies all the time. But like in terms of being like, actually scared, like scared of things, I would say no, like not like paranormal stuff. Am I scared of the threat of nuclear war? Yeah. Not of like ghosts being in the house. I am scared of sleeping downstairs though, because I wouldn't want to wake up in the night.
That's pretty scary. I still run up the stairs when I turn the light on down there.
Okay, so here's the story. I was telling Emily this, and maybe I shared this before. So when I was a little kid and I lived in Vegas, not a little kid. Well, I did live in there when I was really little, but when I got up in the middle of the night, like if I had to go to the bathroom or something, when I left my room, you know, it was so dark. I just felt like there was stuff out there, which really didn't kind of occur to me till much later in life. Anyway, I would literally step out of the door and just punch the air in case there was anything standing there, and then I would walk across the hall to the bathroom because I always felt like there was something around me. Well, I told Emily today that this weird energy that we have downstairs, you know, Noah, and I sleep down there when Emily's home, and it's creepy. Like I'm not really scared sleeping on the couch. I honestly am not. Like I'll wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and see a shadow standing in the corner by the pantry in the garage door, but usually I'm just like, leave me alone or something. But when I go up the stairs, I always feel like that whatever that is like, get the frig out. Like, and so it's like, you know, pushing me up the stairs. So the other day I literally found myself running up the stairs, like punching the air behind me. And I was like, oh God, what is happening? So I was telling Emily, she was laughing at me about that, but it's really bizarre because I don't feel I don't know if there's a certain space it can't go beyond or whatever, but I know Noah and Emily, both you guys experienced that weird feeling on those stairs, like something is chasing you up, like telling you just get out. Right?
Don't you? Well, not so much as like I don't feel like I've ever felt like I'm being chased up the stairs, but just knowing that something, like I'll walk by those stairs all the time and be like, yeah, there's something hanging out at the bottom of the stairs right now.
Sometimes I'll consciously like not look down there. Like I'm just like, okay, if I look down there, I'm probably gonna see something. But like to what Sean had asked, like being scared and stuff, like downstairs in the garage is probably the only place where like anything paranormal will actually scare me, because like I'll watch my door open or hear someone walking in the hallway and be like, okay, yeah, that's just normal. It just happens.
Yeah, there's something about our garage. I don't know what it is. There's a lot of stuff out there. But that's why I mentioned earlier that I have 6 hours of recordings to listen to, because I turned a EVP recorder on last night, a digital recorder, while I was sleeping, because I hear stuff in the garage, like things moving around and things dropping, and there's no visible evidence of any of that. It's really bizarre. But it does that. Noah, I would agree with you. That's the only place in the house where sometimes I am scared to go. Like I feel really hesitant to walk out into and I'll open the door and flip the light on before I even walk into the space, because it just feels really weird.
It's creepy downstairs, and like even what happened to me the other night down there, like because like seeing shadow figures down there. Emily doesn't know about this.
Oh yeah, well why don't you? But you need to tell the listeners too what happened to you.
I was out on the workbench. So there's like two like lanes in our garage. One side like has a bunch of stuff, and then the other side has more stuff, but also the workbench. So I had my computer on the workbench and I was cleaning it out, and I had the garage door open, like the main garage door open, and I was looking outside, and I would turn around and I swear I saw someone standing in that other lane looking over stuff, staring at me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hurry this up and get out of there. it wasn't nice to have someone staring at me in the garage.
Yeah, no,
It's pretty
it's
creepy.
and it's like it hangs out in that same spot all the time. I don't know what it
It
is.
does. It's all
And
the way down there.
I brought my EMF detector out because, of course, I know that sometimes that can create that feeling that we feel in that spot, and there's no indication of that. So I don't know what it is. I actually was thinking earlier today it'd be kind of interesting to bring in one of my psychic friends and see if they pick up on anything, or just get that feeling that we get in there. But our house is weird, and people are always like, how do you sleep there? But the truth is, we're not so much scared. Sean mentioned the idea of scared versus startled. Like that's the only time, it's the startling. Like when you come across something and it's right in front of you, you're startled by it the same way you would be if a person jumped out in front of you, right?
Mhm.
I think the only time that we were scared, and I don't know if Emily, I mentioned this story, the time we came home and I saw something.
Stupid book.
No, not the book.
Oh.
You don't. So that's a different story. Emily was scared by the book I brought home, and I think she mentioned that. You want to tell a little bit about that?
Well, I remember we went out somewhere one time and no one else was home, and we came back and we walked in and there was just this weird feeling in the house. And like if you've never like felt like a weird feeling, like you don't understand it, but you walk in and immediately. So
Especially when
you know.
Wrong. Like, and the smell was off. Like there was a weird smell in the house. And I remember we were just kind of walking around like really carefully. And I was standing right out here in the living room. And like I got like, ooh, I'm getting like chills right now thinking about it. But like my entire arm, like I got chills up my arm, and I was like, what is going on? And Mom was like, it's probably this book I brought home about like demonic possession.
No, it was not about demonic possession. It was a holy Bible.
It was a Bible, just as bad.
Which probably is about demonic possession.
Just as bad. And she was like, I think I'll take this back to church tomorrow. And I was like, okay, you do that.
Well, I think I had sensed that too. I mentioned this on a previous episode. I was working at a Lutheran church at the time, and someone had brought in all these books and was like, take what you want. And this particular book literally was calling to me, which they say is probably, you should probably turn away when something feels that way, actually. But or some people say that. But anyway, I did bring it home, but I totally understood. And I think the most significant thing about that situation was the smell in the house. Like, and this happens in our house a lot. No, I don't know if Emily and Noah, you experience this, but walking in, you know how everyone's house, you have a smell to your house. It's like the smell of your pillow, these things that just kind of are come from the smells of the people who live there, I guess. But sometimes I walk in our house and I'm like, it doesn't smell like our house. Like somebody else has been hanging out here. And that was really significant. Noah, do you remember that happening? You're 3 years young.
I remember you guys talking about it, but I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The other thing that I was asking Emily about was the time we came home and I had seen something move in the window. Oh. And you're like, I'm not going in the house.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I got back in the car because I was like, yeah, you can go figure it out, and I'm not coming in.
But do you remember that then we heard something upstairs?
No,
do you remember that part? I mean, you guys were pretty young, but that was scary. So and the reason I'm thinking of that is to Sean's question, that was scary, but I think, I mentioned it before, it was scary because I thought a real person was in my house, not because it was a ghost.
And we weren't that young, because I think it was pretty soon after the house got robbed, and I was like 12 when that happened.
Oh, yeah, it could have been. And who knows, I think that when things like that happen, it leaves weird energy around. So anyway, all sorts of weird. I'm curious to know, though, when you think of your mom being weird, what kinds of other things come to mind for you guys? Noah spends a lot of time with me in my recent weirdness. Any ideas, thoughts about that? And I won't be offended. I'm just curious.
No, I'm just trying to think. I can't really, like you said,
always watching weird shows. Just like any show that's about ghosts, like
that's
and
always.
then have to be like, okay, can we turn this off and watch something else for an hour before bedtime, because I don't want to watch them cover a murder house.
Oh,
I wouldn't
that,
get there.
speaking of
I think-
being downstairs and watching ghost shows, there's that time we were watching something and then very clearly felt like something came and sat on the couch next to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
pretty
creepy.
creepy.
That was really creepy. It's funny because I think a lot of the things I do they're weird, but I think that you guys have just grown up with it, right?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I talk with Noah about, especially lately, because a lot of the stuff that I've been really diving deeply into has been in the last couple of years, even since Emily has been gone. But Noah, do you remember that time you came down the stairs?
Which time? It happens several
The
times
time
a
you came
day.
down the stairs and you were shaking your hands. Do you remember that? You don't remember?
Sort of. I add more details because that's
It was like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was when I first started doing Reiki with a distance Reiki person, Stacy, and I was on a session with her earlier that day, and you had come up in the session because you came downstairs and she knew it was you. She's like, "Is that your son that just came down the stairs?" Because she could just tell. And I was like, "Oh yeah, he's down here." And anyway, so you came up, and there was one point where she was like, "I'm shaking my hands. I don't know why. I don't know if it means anything to you." She goes, "But I just felt the need to shake my hands." And I'm like, "I don't know what that means." Like 2 hours later, you come walking down the stairs, shaking your hands like this. And I'm like, "Why are you doing that?" And you're like, "I don't know. I just felt like shaking my hands." And I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like it was really weird. But she did tell me, she's like, there's something about that, especially now. Noah and we've noticed a lot of these things too, like in terms of, and it's maybe because we spend this time, but like feeling each other, right, Noah? Like I'll be driving Noah to school and I'll start feeling like really weird in my stomach, like anxious. And I'm like, "Noah, are you feeling anxious about something at school today?" And he's like, "A little." "Why?" I'm like, "Because I can feel it." Like, stop feeling that way, right, Noah? We've had those moments too.
My bad, I have a math test.
Right. So, but yeah, we have those weird moments. So here's a good one. Sean says, "Are there any non-ghost related stuff like weird music choices?"
Well, you're fine with me blasting music on a speaker, and I've been noticing that you're doing it more, and so like noticing your music choices, and it's a lot of like acoustic remixes of like popular pop songs.
Really? No, it's
Not like a lot, but like there's a good handful.
Yeah.
They're not bad.
How about the times I've told you, "Hey kids, how about today we sing everything in our operatic voice?"
Yeah, she does do weird stuff like that. Which the one big thing I've picked up from her that's just kind of like weird and random, but it's interesting because like my best friend at school does it too, and she claims she did it before me, but I kind of think she learned it from me. But I don't know, maybe she did do it before me. But is singing random sentences, like just like walking around. It feels like an anxious tick or something like that, and then just being like, "I've got to take the trash out." Stuff like that is something she would always do.
Yeah, I do that. But you know what? I have this one story, and then Noah, you could share if you have any experience with that. I have this one story with my friend Lisa from growing up in Las Vegas. And we came into my house, and my mom, I wouldn't describe her as weird, but like not in the same ways. But I have always felt about my mom that she like needed to come out of her shell. Like there's aspects of my mom that no one's ever really known, right? But we came down the stairs one day, and my mom's washing dishes. And Lisa, I don't know if you'll watch this or if you are watching, and she was like, "Jack and Jill went up the hill," and both of us are like, "What the heck?" Like it was totally random, but that is all to say that I think I come by it naturally. But I do sing random things all the time, right?
And what I was gonna say was you kind of just did it there, randomly using accents.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, just
Yeah.
I wake up and you're like, you decide, "Oh, I'm gonna talk like this all day," and like
Yeah.
or something like that. I'm like, "Okay, Mom."
I like
It
to talk
lasts-
to my English
It lasts
accent.
about like the next 2 hours, and mom forgets.
Hey, well, nobody plays along with me. Gosh. See, Sean can relate. Sean can relate. He has cool. See, we listen to cool music, right, Sean? We are children of the 80s and 90s. That's the coolest kind of music. All right. Anything? Does anybody who's listening? I see Shannon, Allison, Sean are here asking a lot of questions, and I know there's other people listening. But let me know if you have any questions for Emily and Noah real quick before we get off. But okay, yeah, Emily has another story, I guess. So let's listen in.
Definitely something that started happening more recently, I think, is like we'll have like not like dreams about each other, but dreams like we talk about dreams a lot because we both tend to have like really weird dreams. Like I had a dream. Well, I don't know. That might be a little TMI. I'm not going to share that one. But like sometimes like I'll like tell her about a dream and then she's like, that's really weird. Like those things seem to like corroborate what I have going on in my life. And like that happened recently where like I explained this like really random dream where she was like dying in the dream and it was like really like extensive and like a lot of stuff happened and she was like, wow, like that. Like she wasn't like
freaked out
that I was dreaming about her dying, which I feel like a lot of people would be freaked out about. She's just like, interesting. I was like, okay.
That's because I think that when you have dreams about people dying, it's because an aspect of that person or an aspect of your relationship with that person might be dying, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because things have to die to be born again or to grow again, right? So
didn't you dream about yourself dying recently? Didn't you tell me that?
Me?
I could have sworn you did, Mom.
She's gonna be like, I dream about myself dying all the time.
I don't know if I did. What I did dream about, and I think I might have brought this up when I was talking to Sean on the last episode, was my lion dream, where I was locked in the bathroom and a lion was trying to get in, and then it followed me throughout the rest of the dream. I don't know if I don't know, Noah. That's a really good question. This is why I journal my dreams because they really are important. I believe with dreams.
I'm pretty sure you did say something about because that whole like thing you just explained about like it could be part of like yourself like dying off. Like it gave me that whole explanation the other day.
Yeah. I might have. Sometimes I just get the information or I remember it briefly. Allison shared. I'm going to share this because this is kind of interesting, and we did have a cool episode on dreams and deja vu. But she says her dad had a recurring dream that a cannon would shoot him in the stomach after being late to school and opening the doors. He passed away from pancreatic cancer. So dreams. So this is a great segue. We're going to have to wrap up here in a few minutes. So dreams I think are really crazy, but there's all sorts of information loaded into them. And in terms of aspects of our body, like I with the Reiki training that I've done, for instance, I could totally pull that dream apart and tell you why that was happening and give a suggestion as to why someone would die of pancreatic cancer, for instance. So all of these things are really tied into one another. And I know we have a lot of people who have been really interested in me doing a session on Reiki and how that energy works, how it manifests, like what Reiki is all about. And but like the energy, chakra energy and all that, how it affects our physical being. So I do want to do that. So we have 6 minutes. Any last moments from Em and Noah about your weird mom?
No, the sage burning was weird when you first started it because it kind of came out of nowhere. But now
it did come out of nowhere. I was just in my room and go, what's that smell?
There's just sage burning.
It smells like I'm in church.
And guess what? Santa brought them in their stockings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
getting stuff like a chakra candle in your stocking from Santa.
That's chakra candles and sage.
And sage and Palo Santo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's how your
A little
mom
weird.
Well,
right?
we talked about it after it happened, but like, cause I use Sage now, obviously. And so I was in a house over the summer because I had an internship in North Carolina. And so I was living in like this pretty big, pretty old house. And there wasn't really there was other people in and out, but I was really the only one living there over the summer. And one day I decided to burn sage and it burned for literally hours. And I was like FaceTiming my mom and I was like, why does it just keep on going? Like it didn't stop for hours and hours. And she's like, probably have some serious junk to clear in that house. And I was like, I guess, but like I've saged before, and I'm pretty sure the other person who was in the house that night probably thought I was smoking weed or something because they're like, do you smell whatever's burning? And I was like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then I just had to open all the windows in my room.
Emily, you just need to embrace your weird. Just say, yeah, I'm burning some sage to get rid of all the negative
not
energy
with the person I've
house.
known for like 3 weeks.
Aw. All right. Well, I'm grateful to my kiddos, my two favorite people in the world, my Emily and my Noah. Thanks for coming on and hanging out with your weird mom. I don't have a favorite. That doesn't exist. People who have favorite kids, that's you look at Noah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You know what? You both teach me completely different lessons, and I'm grateful for those lessons, and I completely recognize them and love them. And you know what when people have favorites, it's because they're triggered by things about themselves that they see in their kids. So when they dislike one of their kids, it's because they can't handle what they see, and it's because it's in here. So I don't feel that way. I've learned a lot about myself because of the two of you, and I'm really grateful for that. And I think that you chose me for that reason. So that's another thing, parents wouldn't always say that, but anyway, I love you, and I'm grateful that you were here. Thank you for coming. And I just want to say before I wrap up for my listeners, I'm taking a little break in January. I'm actually going to do what's it called? I'm removing some things from my diet to try to get to the heart of some sensitivities that I had, and so that I have. So whiskey's probably going to have to go on the back burner for a few weeks. And so how much fun would whiskey and weird be if I couldn't actually drink whiskey? So I'll be back the week of my birthday, which is January 29th. Noah's is the day after mine. And I'm looking forward to some new episodes. Sean mentioned a new book he got about deja vu. I'd love to revisit some of these things that we've done before, deja vu and dreams. But I'd also like to get into things like Bigfoot and aliens and fun stuff like that, because it's all stuff that's really interesting and captivating to me. So I've mentioned that I really, really enjoy, I really, really will enjoy getting people on here. If you have something you want to talk about with me, let me know and I'll invite you on, because it's a lot of fun to have guests. Sean did say you will still be weird. That's a really good point, Sean. I will still be weird. So I appreciate that. But I'm really grateful for those of you who have listened and are listening and will listen. And I wish you all a super duper happy new year. And I'll see you in a few weeks at the end of January. All right. Be well. Stay weird, everybody. Bye, Noah. Bye, Emily.
Bye.